We know that Russia is at least now admitting that there have been some casualties, even though it is almost certainly a massive intentional undercount. You combine that with the lack of willingness domestically to be honest about the goals of this, or even the extent of it, referring to it as a special operation rather than as a war. That's hardly unique. The US hasn't declared war formally in many, many decades, but there is definitely a lack of honest flow of communication by the Russian government about what is going on to their people. And if you had any hope that that would change that policy, recent developments do not imply that that's likely. They've passed this new, it's being referred to as a fake news law. Russia's lower house of parliament has passed a law punishing fake news with up to 15 years in prison, meant to penalize people who, quote, distort the purpose, role, and tasks of the Russian armed forces, as well as other units during special military and other operations, including people who spread information about Russian war losses. The chair of the Duma says, literally by tomorrow, this law will force punishment, and very tough punishment, on those who lied and made statements which discredited our armed forces. Well, not everyone who lied. The leaders who lied are gonna be perfectly fine. I don't think they're gonna be spending 15 years in prison, but if you're a person, if you're one of the Russian celebrities who's been trying to rally the Russian people against this, if you're a Russian activist trying to spread information, if you are, some last lingering vestige of independent media there, I mean, it's hardly new that they're cracking down, but amidst the special operation, they're doing it as well.
I mean, it's the least surprising thing. I mean, I'm actually kind of shocked they didn't implement this policy from the get-go. As I mentioned earlier, Russia got rid of, shut down the one remaining independent news source in the country. And so the propaganda and the censorship was already there, but now they've taken it a step further by implementing insane penalties for anyone who dare go against the propagandistic narrative coming from Putin. So again, I'm not surprised. But there are censorship issues in many countries, including democratic countries like our own. And so it's a debate how to really deal with things like fake news and propaganda and all of that. But I think censorship usually ends up being pretty counterproductive.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's ironic that they are putting forward and quite predictable a so-called fake news law when the state is the one pushing the fake news, and the state has pushed extraterritorial, including here in the US and other countries, disinformation operations, including from the St. Petersburg-based Internet Research Agency that I had off the record contact with when I was writing my last book. So I was learning a lot about the tactics of disinformation that were being employed by the Russian state, both domestically and internationally, but also really to your point, Anna, again, disinformation, I mean, so much of this actually resonates with what we all suffered through during the brutal previous administration in this country, right? The sort of claim that any position that is not my own is fake news, and that became a rhetorical standpoint for people to organize themselves for or against. And I think, we just got to fight it on every single level. I've been talking to Russian friends, Russian bloggers and so on, but we're contacting one another on Signal and Telegram. Who knows how safe that is? But at the end of the day, I mean, this is the nationalist, authoritarian, oligarchic, capitalist state that Russia is, and it's the enemy of democracy on that level, and it's the enemy of the Russian people.
Yeah, and it's honestly, we were referring earlier to the massive protests in Russia. Like it's all the more impressive, not only because of the stakes, the likelihood that you'll be arrested or brutalized, but doing it with so many obstacles to actually getting the information necessary to know what it is that you're protesting. I mean, thankfully there's been a democratization through, in no small part, some of the tools you're talking about. But as much as possible, the state has been clamping down on social media and those sorts of things. And now, I mean, God only knows the sorts of people that are what sorts of people are going to be targeted by this. It's really scary to think about.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that All you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.